Okay, so this is the scene setup, I guess, but obviously we're here to talk about the lighting and all that jazz and shader networks. So let's start off with lighting just because we're in the perspective view. So most of what I've written in my portfolio is just like basic, this is this is that. I'm not gone into much detail just because of this part of the assignment. And there's a lot of screenshots and everything there, so this was easy explained. So basically with the lighting, I've only done like really basic lighting. Let's open the render view. That's the back, let's turn it around. Which camera are we in? Camera shape 1, frame that. So this is the render, and we've got spotlight. The spotlight's just there for like a little extra like directional pinpoint light onto the actual model itself. Just gives it a little bit of a extra spark. And then these are just two area lights that I've plugged in, and you can see I've changed the temperatures of some of them. Like if we turn this one off, let's hide it for a second, you can see that it's kind of got like an orangey, tinty, warmy glow to it, which I quite like, so I thought that was quite a warming colour to look at, and it gave the model a... Oh, it's going to crash, isn't it? It crashed. Oh, it didn't crash. Okay, we didn't crash. Cool. So yeah, and then if we turn the other light off, which has got a bluer tinge to it, where is it gone? Okay, well, it did have a bluer tinge to it. Okay. Oh, they've both got orange tinge to them. Very interesting. But yeah, if we turn this one off, it's a lot darker, more orangey, off. Yeah, this one's got more of a undertoned. They've just got different tones to them that, like, overall gives the model a nice looking light. And then obviously the HDRI, if we turn that off, that's just there for shadows and stuff, which is cool. That works pretty nicely. That's why I used mainly to model it at the beginning, just to get a basic lighting. And it's just of like a room, if you can see. So yeah, so that's the lighting. Okay, so let's just start off with the basic shader. So I put this shader in, this shader network into this, and that's like this is the main one. This is just for the chrome ball. So that's that chrome ball one. It's just chrome. It's like a basic preset texture just for the lighting source. And then this is just the table texture. We can see that if I just pull that down a little bit, like that. So that's that, and that's just that table texture that the objects are just sat on. So that is that network. So I just put that in there so it doesn't get clumped up with the big one, which is this one. So let's start here. So this is the shader network for the main, you can see there, the main pattern of the thing. If we go to the render view for the red and the blue. So the mix shader is separated into two standard surface shaders into a mix shader. The first shader is the background, so the blue background bit here, and then the second shader is the red and the yellow and the hand. They have mixed together into the mix shader to like blend them and have, so I can have like different metalnesses and different types, which I applied to both of them. So if we go back in here, I can show you that. So this is the red shader, which is here. So use the settings to got some weight on there with some different metal types, just to give it a little bit of a sheen. And then this is the black background, which has got different shaders and different metals also connected to that. So this is then into the mix shader, which was applied to the model here. Sorry, my computer is lagging because it's had a tough week. Well, tough couple of weeks. Anyway, so that's that there, and that's applied to that, which we can see in our render view. So this was like just very basic, and to start with, like there was none of the damage on there was none of the roughness on there or anything, none of the grunge texture. It was literally just like it is in the Photoshop, which you'll see in the file. It's literally just it was plain and boring. I didn't like that, so I then went into Photoshop and I changed the red and this, like these damaged areas, I actually did those in Photoshop. So like these like black bits here, like that was done with a brush that I got from Brush Easy, just to give some damage. And I tried different forms of that, which you'll see in the portfolio, and I just kept plugging those in, and I used the UV editor, and I did that in Photoshop, and you'll see all the UVs and everything in the portfolio. So that was all plugged in into that there, and that's like then was in the mix shader, so I could mix it all. I then used the curvature node, which you will also see in the portfolio, like the example of that, and the range, which was then what because it was just blue to begin with, like the outside, like this outside bit was literally just blue, and I didn't like it. It looked too like pretty almost, and I wanted the black to come through on the side edges, and also as you can see the scratches, so it looks like the paint has been scratched off to like a black background. So I thought because I used the curvature node to plug in the black with the blue and then make this like bluey black kind of damaged sheen edge bit, which is also like correlated with the scratches and all this. And I like the way the blue and the black was there, because it also represents the blue and the black, like in the lettering here in the black of the hand. So it looks like it has been scratched off into like a layer, and I thought that looked pretty, like a lot better. So I did that for that. And then when my computer stops lagging, so that's that shader network there. And then I moved into the metal and the scratches of the back of the model. So if we change our thing, yeah, there we go, to the back, here we are, this is the final render. So it started off, I made it the same as before. I applied I did 2 AI standard surface shaders. One was metal and the other was the scratches. This was then, and then to a mix shader, which was then applied to the whole of the back of this model. And then in the metal, I wanted the metal to have a bit of a bump, like a bit of a wear and a tear, and a bit of a bubble to effect to it. So I added a bump map here into the normal camera, and then added a noise node and then these are all the settings. So that it took a while to get how I liked it. I spent quite a lot of time like making it, because it was very like at the beginning it was very just like circularly obvious, like just shoved a noise texture on it. So it took a long time to do that, but I'm quite happy with the way that metal has come out. I will show you when my computer, yeah, there we go. So you can see like on the edge here, like the little bit of a bump, and like it's not massive, but it's just enough just to give it a bit more of a texture, and a bit more of a like something you can grab. It's not perfect. It's just like very roughed up a bit. And then with the scratches on the actual real life object that I was like referencing from, you can see that there's scratches, but they're not like there's like hundreds and hundreds of them. There's like a few, just like the long ones, like obviously like wear and tear scratches. So that's why I chose that. I did a lot of different scratches and tried a lot out, and you'll see the difference of those in the portfolio as well. So yeah, this is the scratches, and then that was in the shader, and then I used the diffuse and everything like to mix it and match it up, because they're not very obvious, but they are there and you can see them, which is why it's ended up how it is now. I like that. I did originally go back to this. Let's just turn that off. There was originally a bump in the red, like in the top of in the front, so in this red like part of the poster, if you can see that's been plugged into the normal, but it had a noise on it, and it was kind of the same as the front one, but then I didn't really like the way it looked. Like it was too much with all the other things that were going on in this front part. That was too much. It shouldn't actually be there, but I just kept it there to show you that it was there. So yeah, but like from the reason I took it out in the end was because with the real life object that I have that I was referencing from, when you feel it and you look at it, there isn't actually any bumps or any like inconsistency of like the metal on the front of the poster. It's very flat, it's very chic, it's just got like scratches and grunges and rust and stuff like that on it, which is what I did. So I didn't, in the end I scrapped the bump on that, so I just thought I'd show you that on that. But yeah, so back to this. So this is the metal one. So we've got the rust, the scratches here that we're coming into this base colour, and then this is that mix shader and the metal. and there's the metal settings. That was that. And then for the rust part of it, go back into the oh, how if I turned the render on? There we go. That's the top view. There we go. So for this edge roughness area, let's just do a quicker render on that. So for this, I used quite a few different. Well, I tried a few different like, and I made a new network. So if we go over here, here is that network for the rust. So I applied I selected the edges of the model at the back. If we go into like perspective, and like I just went to the back of the model and I just like selected the faces around the edges, and then I applied the metal to that and the rust to that, and then I did a mix shader so I could mix the metal with the rust, because if the rust was just on its own, it just looked very like pictured, like it just looked obvious, like it was fake, like it looked silly. So I thought if I plugged into a metal and then added the same settings as this metal, which is the whole back metal, it would match it, and it did. And I had to tweak them a little bit differently to the originals, just because obviously the rust's there as well. But overall, mixing these two together and then like having these mixtures together allowed for the metal and the rust to kind of combine and then look the same as the metal on the main part of the board, so this metal. So it's got the same kind of sheen, but it's still very rusty and very like this is an old poster. And the back of it on the real life one as well is the same. Like the back of it, the top areas of rust, there's not rust like all through the middle like here. It is just around the edges, which is what I liked. So I did try a few different ones, types of rust, so like just like little bits of rust and like the full rust, but I went with the full texture rust and then just applied it to the edges because it just looked better. And you'll see all the different rusts that I tried out in the portfolio. So that was that. And then yeah, that was that basically in like a quick rundown of what I did. Obviously I tried a lot of different ways, a lot of different textures, a lot of different setting types, everything like that, to see like what I liked. So but you'll see most of that in the portfolio. The only thing that I could say that I really had trouble with, like you can see this is the full network, and oh, these are the UVs and stuff, like other UVs that I tried to plug in with different like levels of like damage. So like this was like not that much damage, kind of perfect. It looked too perfect. That was like way too much damage, like it just looked ridiculous. It was too much. And then that was like the original, and then so we ended up with this guy. You can see that there, which is the one that I've got, and then I added like the grunge layer to it, which I can show you actually here. So this is the original network, and then this is the grunge textures. Someone is ringing on Discord. Let's decline that. So there I did two grunge textures to the front, because originally, if we go back into here, you can see that originally like with it was just this kind of damage and like the edge bits. So then I added this like two grunge textures to these white bits here. It just gives a splatter and a bit of a worn out, weathered, like, so the sun like discolors things, doesn't it? So I thought that looked pretty cool, like with the discoloration on some of the colours, like on the yellows and the reds. Like it just gave it a bit more of a weathered feel. So I plugged that into the specular colour and the specular roughness, and like mess with their settings, just to give it a little bit more of an edge. Yeah, so that was those. Yeah, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, the trouble I had with it. So this is the shader network. You can see that none of these are actually joined up together, like, because I tried very hard to like get all these mixes and mixes to mix together, and I watched a million tutorials and it just wasn't working for me. So in the end, I think I cheating kind of, I don't really know, but it works, so not suppose. But yeah, so these are all separate, but they're all assigned to like their specific areas of the model. So like this rust like is assigned just to the edges, and then this is assigned to like the back of the model, the metal, and then like the top one obviously is all for the front of the model. So it worked. Like they're not connected, and I did try, but like everything was just, it just wouldn't work. Every time I tried to plug something in, like it'd break or like mine would crash. So yeah, so like this is just like a basic explanation of like just to show you like everything kind of close up and stuff. So yeah, that is basically what I did. Quite a lot of it is explained in the portfolio. Yeah, so that's it really. Thanks for listening, I suppose. Yeah, thank you. Cool.